So, following the release of Chapter 5 a week ago, I've decided to rank every single Fortnite season from worst to best, at least in my opinion. Before I begin, I would just like to say thanks for 900 subscribers. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'm hoping to get to 1,000 soon. But now, let's get on to these horrible opinions. But wait, there are some seasons that I have not played, so I am going to be ranking those based on how much I think I probably would have enjoyed them had I played that season. So yeah, let's just rank those real quick. Number 27, Chapter 2, Season 5. This season doesn't really seem all that good to me. I mean, the sand tunneling is cool, I guess, until it got disabled for the entire season. This season was also the beginning of the flood of crossovers to Fortnite, like Street Fighter, Terminator, Mandalorian, and a bunch of others. Number 26, Chapter 2, Season 6. I probably had to actually play this season to know the hate behind it, but honestly, it seems really cool. It introduced crafting, which only remained until the end of Chapter 2, but honestly, I thought this was a really cool and unique feature, and it also introduced animals, which were okay, I guess. This season also introduced one of my favorite shotguns, lever action, and it also introduced the bows, which are just so fun to use. The shockwave is awesome, and like the stink bow is also great. And the event at the beginning was just absolutely phenomenal. Number 25, Chapter 1, Season 1. The beginning of this legendary game. Honestly, not much to say here because there was barely anything at the time, and Epic was still just deciding what to do, and they definitely did do it right. Number 24, Chapter 1, Season 2. This is pretty much the same thing as Season 1, except we got the introduction of the first Battle Pass. We also got the first Winterfest, which was also pretty cool. Tilted Towers was also added, and the mini shield as well. Number 23, Chapter 1, Season 3. Now this is where Fortnite started to actually have a story. We got the introductions of Backblings, which is epic, and the meteors falling from the sky was cool. And we also got Lucky Landing, which is an okay location, I suppose. And who could forget the absolute fear that the John Wick skin struck into the hearts of his enemies? Not me, because I didn't even play that season. Number 22, Chapter 1, Season X. Now, I actually did play this season, but only for the first and last day, so I didn't play the season. But honestly, I wish I did. The meteors floating above Dusty Depot was super cool, as well as Tilted Town and Gotham City. They seemed like such cool POIs, and I wish I could have experienced it. Moisty Palms was also very unique, with it randomly turning you into a prop, and Greasy Grove with its taco time was also super cool, but probably very annoying. Fucking taco time! But enough about the locations, let's talk about the main factor people remember Season X for, the mechs. I personally enjoyed them, but that's because I enjoy all annoying weapons, besides from the drum shotgun. I fucking hate that gun. But I will admit, 2000 HP for something this powerful is way too much. And the end event is definitely in the top 5 best events of all time, and this was just honestly such a perfect way to end off the chapter. Okay, now we can get on to the seasons that I actually played. Number 21, Chapter 3, Season 4. By far the worst season and event in Fortnite history. The chrome blobs were honestly cool though, I will give Epic that. The Herald was just such an unnecessary villain, like what even was her plan exactly? And the chrome surrounding the map looked so bad in the end, like Jesus Christ. And the event was so bad, and to put the cherry on top of it, people, including me, got kicked out halfway through. Number 20, Chapter 4, Season 3. As much hate as this season gets, I will say I really did like the jungle biome. The invisibility gauntlets were also pretty cool, but everything else about the season was just horrible. The updates felt super slow, there was nothing in terms of lore, and talking dialogue was removed for the NPC's dialogue, which was so dumb. The wild wasps were super annoying, and there was nothing in terms of mobility for this season. And the summer event was also super lackluster, and the cherry on the horrible ice cream cake is the season's main shotgun was the drum shotgun. Number 19, Chapter 3, Season 2. The only thing I really like about this season is the introduction of Zero Build and the end event. The battle bus actually being a vehicle was so good, and I wish it stayed around for a little longer. Since the season was all about war and stuff, we got some cool items back like the airstrikes and the jetpacks. The tanks were also a cool item, but super annoying to drive. But everyone, whenever I used them, just suddenly knew how to aim for the engines, so for me, they were practically useless. This was also the beginning of quests that would drop lore with characters actually talking in it, which I really loved, and I hated how they massacred it in the end of Chapter 4, and I really wish it's gonna return in Chapter 5. Number 18, Chapter 1, Season 4. Okay, now I will definitely get some heat for this one, but this was the first season I played, but I still didn't really play all that much. Really, the only things I remember from the season are the Hop Rocks, which I really wish would come back, and the Thanos LTM, which since caused the Fortnite item shop to be like 50% collabs. This season also had the first live event, which you would still die during watching it, which sucked, but thankfully they changed that soon. Number 17, Chapter 3, Season 3. While the season was mid, I really did like the reality tree thing and the flower it gave you, where it gave you loot based on how good your flower was. I thought that was a really unique concept and hope it returns in some way, shape, or form. This season also brought back Ballers, which gave them a charge, which made them honestly kind of sucky. Speaking of charge, this also introduced the Charge SMG, which was absolutely broken. This also had Darth Vader, who was super annoying to kill, but his lightsaber was so worth it. Number 16, Chapter 1, Season 5. Now, this is whenever I actually started playing Fortnite religiously, but I did start at, the very end of the season, so I didn't really experience much. I played at the very end. The Purple Lake very end. Now, I only really played 50 in Playground at the time, so I can't really say much, because I didn't really get to experience the horrors that were the drum gun meta. But Kevin was super cool, and the Purple Lake was also really fun to play around. Number 15, Chapter 2, Season 1. Okay, now we're getting to the seasons that I actually like. The only reason this is the lowest of the good ones is because this season was just so long with so little updates. Which, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy the simplicity of it, but I still wanted updates, man. This was the first Winterfest to include Crackshot's cabin, RIP, and the free gifts that you can get inside the cabin, once again, RIP. And the battle pass was cool with each skin having an evil variant and a good variant. And the gameplay at the start of the trailer was so good, and probably the best opening to a season ever, where it just dropped you into the gameplay just like that. The Star Wars collab was super cool, and the lightsabers were super fun to use, even though the event was super mid. And this was the only season ever to actually have a Halloween event and a Christmas event in one season. Number 14, Chapter 2, Season 3. This season's map was super cool, but my only complaint is that I wish the underwater map lasted longer. The charged shotgun didn't deserve the hate it got at the time, because it was honestly such a good replacement. And the bosses were also cool with the bottomless Chug Jug and the mythic FAMAS, and the build umbrella was also unique too. And I was actually happy how mine turned out, unlike Maya. The Marauders were also super annoying, probably the most annoying henchmen since the agency ones, and the roll pools were a super cool mode of transportation, and Aquaman was also very cool. And this season added everyone's favorite POI, Coral Castle. Number 13, Chapter 2, Season 2. This is really just Season 3, but better. This was the start of bosses and henchmen in Fortnite. Stormtroopers don't count. Sky's Scar was hella broken, and her grappler made her easily the best boss of the season. The grotto was easily the best location, but was super annoying to escape whenever the storm came there. Speaking of the storm, whenever the storm came, water and flooded the entire map at the end of the season for the event was super cool and shocking, and was groundbreaking for Fortnite standards, and proceeded to start the rumor of first person coming to Fortnite ever since that encounter with John Jones. And can't forget, the most overrated event was here too. Number 12, Chapter 3, Season 1. This season was just absolute peak. We got Spider-Man's web shooters, possibly the best Winterfest ever, and a super cool battle pass. We also got brand new weapons to start us off on the season, and in my opinion, the best map we've had so far. The Daily Bugle was a good location, and it was really cool how the spider webs, if you bounce on all of them, they would throw you in a circle, and it was really good for just quick escapes. The Winterfest when the sleigh and the free gifts made it amazing, and can't forget, we also got Tilted Towers back. Number 11, Chapter 4, Season 1. This season is so underrated for no reason. The map was really good, and the hammers were really fun to use. All the other Oathbound weapons were also really cool, like the Falcon Scout, Guardian Shield, and the Excalibur. This weapon was just okay. The Winterfest was just Chapter 3's all over again, but it was worse, but it was still fine. And the Most Wanted event was easily the best part of the season. It brought back mini battle passes, which I thought were really cool, and having unique abilities depending on your wanted level was also super awesome. And the Tier 100 skin was honestly the best we've had since Midas. The Aegis's Mythic Hammer was probably my favorite part about the season because of how OP it was, and the dirt bikes were probably some of the best mode of mobility we've had since the hoverboard. Number 10, Chapter 4, Season 2. I had a really hard time deciding whether or not Season 1 was better or not, but I chose this one because I feel like the updates were just better. We got possibly the best Star Wars collab ever, and the ODM gear was awesome, and Spider-Man mythics returning were also great. The only downside is that this was the start of the vault bosses instead of the actual bosses with mythics and stuff, so that's a downside. And the story was also pretty bad too, but besides those flaws, this season was pretty goated. The Mega City POI was super cool at first, but then kind of just lost its spark after a couple weeks. And we also got the Kinetic Blade, which was a super fun weapon to use. And the Cyber Bikes were such a bad replacement for the dirt bikes, but luckily those got added back later. But the cars, the Nitro Drifters, they were okay. Number 9, Chapter 4, Season 4. This season was probably the most anticipated season of Chapter 4, and it definitely delivered. This season had probably the best Halloween event we've had in years, and it brought back a bunch of old mythics, including Zig and Choppy's ray gun, my beloved. This was honestly just such a cool season gameplay-wise, and the vaults were a really cool addition, how you could choose your own mythic, but it kind of sucked how you can only get one, just leaving your, duo or squad with nothing. Revenant Kato Thorn and his mythics were also really cool, how, the kinetic blade came back and it gave you health whenever you hit someone, and then there was the drum gun, which, honestly, I just found to be an okay weapon. Number 8, Chapter 2, Season 4. The Marvel season was so iconic for no reason. The game mode with all the Marvel mythics was easily the highlight of this season, and the mythics themselves, like Iron Man blasters and Doom's gauntlets, were some of the best in the game. But then there were others, like Silver Surfer's board and Groot's Bramble Shield, that were just kinda mid. But in my honest opinion, I thought the Galactus event was kind of mid. Look, I'm sorry, I just honestly didn't really like it all that much. And it was also on a school day for me, so I couldn't even play it. Number 7, Chapter 1, Season 9. This season is a tad underrated in my opinion, even if it did have the goddamn drum shotgun, but this was still a very cool season when Neo tilted and all the futuristic stuff. We also got drones for the first time, and the live event was just absolutely peak. This was my favorite summer event because of all the cool LTMs that were added, and the Storm Flip, which was such a unique item, and it sucks that I got vaulted for 17 seasons. The Stranger Things collab and the Upside Down and Mega Mall were really cool, and the John Wick collab with Wick's Bounty was also really fun game mode, and I sadly never got the glider. Number 6, Chapter 4, Season OG. This is probably the most fun Fortnite has been for some people in years. Bringing back the old map for a month was such a good way to make people want to play again, and it brought back a lot of nostalgia for people who missed the old map like myself. This season had a really hot start, but kinda did fall off the last half of the season with the horrible updates, and the introduction of age ratings and frosty flights, and the entire snow biome being a fourth of what it was. And the Season 9 and X update was good, but it brought back the motherfucking drum shotgun. We did get a return of Kevin Island and the floating meteor, which I didn't get to experience much of in Season X. And we also got the best vehicle ever back, the hoverboard. So besides from the stupid updates, this was a good season, and the live event was very good. Number 5, Chapter 2, Season 7. This is definitely a hot take, but I love this season. This was my return back to Fortnite, and I think it was a very good way for me to come back. I loved the UFOs, and the Gravitron was such a fun weapon and unique that I wish it had come back somehow, or they can at least put it into creative. The event this season was also pretty fire, and this season gave some well-needed changes to the best POI of all time, Coral Castle, but it also gave some not-so-needed changes to Slurpy Swamp and took away its slurp effect. This season was just full of cool items to use that were just super fun, like the alien nanites, the thing that shoot out that big old orb thing, and the railgun, which were okay, in my opinion. I'm not really good with snipers anyway. The Battle Pass was also really good with Sloan, Chimera, Rick Sanchez, Superman, fucking Gugamon. God, there were so many collabs in this Battle Pass. And the Pulse Rifle was a really good AR, and the Ray Gun is, in my opinion, probably one of the most fun items in the entire game. Number 4, Chapter 2, Season 8. This season was easily the best finale season of any chapter. From the Venom Mythics to the live event to the cubes returning, this was actually so freaking sick. The Venom Mythics were super overpowered but really fun, and I loved using them. The live event was the first to give us cinematics, which was one of the best of all time, and we also got the revelation of who the Foundation really is. This also started the lore on the 7, which beforehand we didn't really know who they were. But now we finally have some info. This year's Halloween event was also pretty cool, with the return of the witch brooms and the convergence, which was honestly just such an underrated POI. Number 3, Chapter 1, Season 6. This was the season where my homeboy DJ Yonder came out, so of course I gotta love the season. This also started my real descent into Fortnite instead of just playing 50v50 in Playground all day. The event I actually missed because I saw that Playground was disabled and I thought that was permanent, so I kind of just stopped playing, but then I got back on and saw that Leaky Lake was there instead of Loot Island, so I was kind of confused. But the Halloween event with Kevin breaking and having the introduction of the cube monsters was great, and the island floating around the map as well was super cool and easily the highlight of that season. And who can forget the infamous Calamity glitch? Number 2, Chapter 1, Season 7. This season really made me into a Fortnite addict. This game was really the only thing I wanted to play at the time. and this was the season that I got my first win in, so there was a load of nostalgia for me. The season brought back the Cube Monsters for a little bit, and the Ice King event was the first ever event I saw, which was pretty rad. This also had the Marshmallow event, which was so cool at the time. Imagine what it would have been like today if he got this now. This season also gave us the snow biome with locations like Frosty Flights, Polar Peak, and Happy Hamlet, missing you every single day. And the Infinity Blade was super fun, yet annoying item that I just loved to use. The infantry rifle was a super underrated weapon at the time, and I'm so glad that I got buffed later on. But now, without further ado, let's get on to my favorite Fortnite season on number 1. Number 1, Chapter 1, Season 8. This is by far the best season ever, at least that I've played. This season is just Season 7, but 100 times better. Not only does this have all the locations from Season 7, it also has some of the new ones like the Volcano, Sunny Steps, and Lazy Lagoon. It also introduced some cool new weapons like the Flint Knock, which was really underappreciated at the time, and it added the epic and legendary versions of the Infantry Rifle, which were the main stars in one of the best LTMs ever, Air Royale. But this also demoted the Heavy AR to the green and gray rarities instead of the normal purple and gold, which kind of stupid, but oh well. This season also had the best event in Fortnite history, which let us choose a weapon to bring back into the game. And afterwards, Tilted got destroyed, which was such a good ending to the season. The Battle Pass, besides from the Tier 100 skin, was all fire, and the Tier 1 skins were easily the best of the season. This season also gave us the first ever bow, which took shotgun shells at the time, but it was super fun to use. And, as a plus, this season had a free Battle Pass, which you could get the season before. This season also brought back Thanos and the return of the Endgame LTM, which brought a bunch of Marvel mythics into the game, like Cap's Shield, Iron Man's Gauntlets, Thor's Stormbreaker, and it was honestly probably one of the best events of all time, if not the best. So yeah, that is every single Fortnite season ranked in my opinion. If you did go to enjoy my horrible opinions, then you should really consider subscribing. It helps me out and would honestly mean a lot. But anyway, I shall see you all guys in the next video.